All right, well, it's a couple minutes past the hour, so first and foremost, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us here, and hope you've had a good summer so far. We're back. In other words, we skipped August because we know there was a lot of conflicts and such with vacations, things like that, getting the kids all prepped and ready for school, all that fun stuff, right? So, uh, first and foremost, thank you for rejoining us. It's our pleasure to host the September monthly product focus training. And for today's session, you're going to hear about two products. One is an NPI, which Mr. Chris Tubbs will talk about here, which is the BK11. And then another is a very popular product that has been available in the market for some time. We want to reposition it, if you will, because it's quite an effective product, and there might be some new participants here, but nonetheless, Nathan will go ahead and talk about our DF52. So without further ado, Mr. Chris Tubbs, can you please enlighten us on the BK11?
Thanks, everyone. Okay. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, everyone,
Yes, sir.
for joining us today. We appreciate your time and everything. So we'll jump right into it. So BK11 is, like Pete had said, it's a new product and introduction on here. At first glance, it doesn't really look too much like any other of the BK or BM series with, 0.35 pitch on there, 6.6 stack height. And it's a hybrid connector. But what is interesting about this is that it's got, not only is it it's a hybrid, but it has got basically, there's two power rails into it, or two power lanes. So it has the typical main power that the BK and the BM series have typically, that are at the ends of the connector. But this one has got like four sub power contacts basically in the regular field with all of the regular signal pins. So you kind of get kind of a dual current type of connector on this. So that, excuse me. And so that is the big takeaway, at least with, for right now, on some of this BK11 that has got two power lines onto it. And we'll kind of get into some of the features of it and all of these other features, but it does have a fully armored design. It's got enhanced PCB peeling strength on it. It's very easy mating on there. It has a self-alignment range to it. And kind of how the connector is molded, it lends itself to solder wicking onto it, so the customer really doesn't have to worry about that. So on some of the dimensions here, it is one of the things that with this, it's a 10 position signal and it's 6 power right now. And that's the only variety, and that's the only kind of configuration it comes in at the time. But you can kind of see some of the dimensions here. It's fairly compact, 1.56, 4.38 long, 0.6 mated height. So, anybody that's got, or a customer that's got, really space constrained areas, some of these BK and other BM series connectors lend themselves really well because of that very low stacking height on it. So the multi-power contact on these, so we've got, and we've kind of showed where the main power and the sub power contacts are on this. The top image is just the mating connector. So these are both the same connector, just the male and female of it. But one of the big benefits to this is traditionally, if a customer had needed power on some of this, they would have to get extra signal contacts in there, and they would actually have to burn up signal contacts to carry that power load onto it. Whereas this, since we're kind of, there's already secondary and primary power built into it, you don't have to actually get a connector that's bigger than what you need just to get the current carrying capacity out of it. BK11 will do exactly that in a smaller package on that. So again, the power contacts are going to be 4 amps on the main power, and then 2.5 amps on each of these sub power contacts. And this is just what I was mentioning here. So the connector on the top half here is a conventional where it's got power out on the ends of it, and then maybe the customer needed more on this, so they had to get a larger connector. They've got to burn signal pins on these and kind of get signal pins to do the work of the power pins on it. But with BK11, you can see here we've almost reduced it almost by 50%, 46% to be exact. So it saves space, and it gets and it still provides the same outcome on it. You can still move the same amount of power, but yet it's doing it in a smaller package on it. So that is what we want to kind of really stress on, that it is a space-saving design on this. It is a very robust design. Most of these connectors that we have in our BM series type connectors, I mean, they're pretty small connectors, and I wouldn't say that they're fragile, but they've got limitations on them. So depending on sometimes how customers or the assembly personnel are putting them together, there's been instances of where they kind of break the connectors because they're not being careful on them. So part of this fully armored design, and what we mean by that is, on a conventional product, it normally would just have, the resin kind of on the ends of it. And a conventional connector, and even some of the Hirose connectors, I mean, did this too, where they would mold the housing first, and then the contacts would get stitched into their appropriate places on there, and then they would go, through the process, and at the end you would get, a board-to-board connector out of it. And then we kind of had a thing where some of these were, it was only a partial type of thing, but it's still have plastic exposed or resin exposed. But on BK11 and other Hirose connectors that are like this, that since it's kind of made on an insert molding, so the terminals are not necessarily stitched into it. They're more of like a kind of a skeleton or a fret that they put into the mold, and then everything gets shot around it. The resin gets shot around it. So by being able to do that, we can kind of bring up, it's much easier to bring that metal up on the ends as the terminal. But it also gives us that benefit that it provides any breakage, or there's actually a metal edge there. So it's just not, plastic hitting plastic on it where it can possibly break onto it. So that's what we mean by a fully armored design, and it prevents any damage to that housing onto it. Part of the takeaway with this is that it's a more robust connector, and the customer is going to experience much less maybe scrap or rework due to broken connectors onto it. So that's in their favor as well. Some competitive analysis here. While we do have competitors in here, and some of them have got some good features along with the Hirose, but kind of on balance, if we were looking at point to point to point on this, the Hirose actually comes up better because we've got more features that are both smaller. The plugs are smaller. We do have our fully armored design on that. We do have the self-alignment range onto it, and so we do have better pin count, and also on some of our current, we've got that option with some of the pin count with the power pins, both the sub power and the main power on those. Application examples are going to be, they're going to be in typically very small devices. So a lot of your consumer applications like smartphones, wearables, earbuds, any of that type of stuff. However, I mean, it's not going to be necessarily just limited to these types of applications on it. I mean, if you had some type of a portable industrial, maybe it's like a barcode scanner or something, and that they got to get, power from one portion of it, and they really don't have a lot of room. BK11 might be a really good choice for something like that. So it's just not going to be limited to what we're seeing here. Generally, I mean, if the connector fits the application and does what it needs to, and we'd have to, again, look at it depending on exactly what the application is. But, I mean, if it kind of fits and it does what it needs, it might be a really good choice for that type of an application. Some more application examples here. So kind of on the left, we have, module 1, module 2, and then we've got maybe these were like an FFC going to a regular board-to-board connector onto the main board. In this instance, you've got to use 2 from module 1, module 2 on this, but since our BK11 has got some of the, they've got the dual power type pins on them, you very well might be able to kind of take module 1 and module 2 and bring that all into one BK11 connector onto it. So it kind of saves the customer money, time, because they don't have to have another part on the board. But you can use it just for, just about any combined application on that. And again, the extra power rails, they do give you that space-saving design on that because you can just do more with the connector onto it, more in a smaller package with it. Some recent application and customer examples. We got like NeoSensory, Silvertree, Koros, and all over the country. But you can kind of see what they're doing. And again, they are more like wearable type stuff, sport watches, sleep aid, like earbud type things. But again, it's going to be, I wouldn't overlook anything like any type of industrial handheld type of stuff. Maybe some medical stuff out there, handheld medical might benefit from this. It would just have to be if the features of BK11 would fit into what it needs to do. But it's a kind of a, it's an interesting new connector from Hirose. And in retrospect to it, we've got an entire suite of BK type product and also BM series. They're going to all be characterized by they're either going to be all signal, kind of all power, or kind of a power signal hybrid. So my point or the take home from that is that, if BK11 doesn't necessarily fit, it's like, yeah, we don't need the power on it. Hirose does have a lot of other very similar sized type connectors that might be a real good match to what they're needing. So just because BK11 doesn't necessarily fit with what they're needing, looking for and maybe be able to introduce other Hirose BK or BM series connectors that might better fit that. So keep that in mind. Do we have any questions specifically on that, on BK11 today? Okay, anything in the chat, Pete? Because I can't see the chat.
Let's see, in the chat. No, sir, no questions in the chat. Excuse me.
Okay, well, I'll turn it back over to you. If anybody does have any questions before we adjourn today, please bring them up and we'll get those answered to you before we leave. And if it does come up, we're always here. So if you ever need any, support on this, we'll definitely be able and willing to help on this.
All right, thank you, Chris. Let's turn it over to Nathan now. Nathan, you're going to talk about the DF52. Take it away, sir.
Yes, sir. So hello, everyone. My name is Nathan Moskal. I am a technical product specialist from Hirose's Downers Grove headquarters, and I work with Pete on the product management team. I'm excited today to refresh you all on your knowledge about our DF52 series, which is a wire-to-board connector from our Signal B family. So in recent months in the MPF, we've discussed some larger power connectors like the DF60. I mentioned that this is a part of the Signal B family, but the DF52 is popular for connecting lower power in very compact spaces and also being quite robust at that. So here's what the DF52 looks like. You can see some of the features. This is a pretty small connector. It's 0.8 millimeter pitch, up to 2.5 amps maximum, but it's very robust and strong, especially compared to our competitors, and I will get more into that as we go through this. So here's how you can, start the conversation around this DF52. It's a compact and robust wire-to-board connector, small enough for space-constrained applications. Even in those tight spaces, the DF52 offers superior electrical performance for current, voltage, and contact resistance, and it is footprint compatible with all major competitors for this product. If you have a customer wanting a 0.8 millimeter pitch connector, or they want to replace an existing one, the DF52 is a great option for that. So like I mentioned, this has a very sturdy and compact design. It has 1.5 times the braking strength of the housing compared to our competitors. So we achieve that by making some of the walls a little thicker. Same thing on the receptacle side. It's 2 times stronger against vertical cable pulling compared to competitors. This makes it much less likely to break before, during, and after cable assembly, which is quite important, especially when dealing with products of this size. Another great feature of the DF52 is visual inspectability. So you can see on the left side of the screen, the plug has little slits above where the pins insert so that the receptacle contacts can actually touch that plug. Some of those slits go further back, so that way when you're plugging it in, you can literally just see if it's fully mated or not. So if you're having somebody use this by human assembly, that's helpful because the human can see it, but it also opens the door to automated assembly to have machine vision checking on whether that connector is inserted properly. So here's a success story about a VR headset that Hirose was designed into with the DF52. The customer liked it because it specifically had a high current rating and lower contact resistance compared to the competitor products. And they ended up using 14 sets of DF52 in that VR headset. Here is an example of the Hirose connector recommendations made by our marketing and segment teams. This one has the DF52 in there as a camera and sensor connection for a laptop. Again, something where you would be space constrained and you'd want to use small connectors, just like that VR headset. This is a great option. However, due to its robustness, it's also popular in a lot of other applications. We've seen good success for this in the medical market. Security cameras are a space-constrained application, again, where the DF52 has been popular. We've seen some success on humanoid robots due to the robustness of this. Same thing with industrial robots, wearables due to the compactness, and then motor drives, popular for the current capacity as well as the robustness. Here are some customers that you might encounter that the DF52 would be a good fit for, as well as the applications that they work on. So for medical, these are all the ones I showed on the last slide. If you have any customers in these segments or have these customers that you call on, definitely pitch them the DF52. It could be a great option for their system. And that is all I have today. Thanks for taking the time to come listen to us.
All right, so Nathan, I'm checking the chat. No questions in the chat. Does anyone have any questions for Nathan on the DF52 or Chris for the BK11? All right, going once, going twice. Hey, so just a real quick recap. So BK11 is a new product introduction. We think it will be quite successful based on those key feature sets that Chris had mentioned. With the DF52, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is a relaunch product, if you will. We wanted to remind you of the bells and whistles with this DF52. Also want to let you know in terms of its popularity, here in Hirose, US, we sell about 1.8 million each year on the DF52. So if you're not winning with it now, please put it in your notebook as something to design in the near future, because it is quite popular in those applications that Nathan had mentioned. So thank you so much for joining us for our September monthly product focus training, and we will be back at you in the month of October. In the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your day, and thanks again for joining us. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.